Hi there, and thank you for joining me for today's live reading of Malice by Alyndra Quinn. And this is presented by Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Chapter 1 Stone. Her dark gaze sweeps the room with the instincts of a predator. She's logging security vulnerabilities, kill zones, even as she moves with the sensuality of a hunter in a black dress. Stone. My father's voice cuts through the memory. My gaze drifts from the window to him, my expression unreadable, a mask I perfected years ago. 2 months since that gala, and she still invades my thoughts at the worst moments. Thompson's self-satisfied smile suggests he's just delivered brilliant projections. Something about the philanthropic division being up 17%. A murmur of approval goes around the boardroom table. Evander grunts from the head of the vast mahogany expanse, a sound that could mean anything from begrudging respect to outright dismissal. But I'm still replaying her in my mind, moving through the crowded gala like death and designer elegance, not as a guest, but hunting. Every instinct in my body screamed it. She was on contract. While others saw a beautiful, aloof woman, I saw the predator. Deadly poetry, and I want to bind every verse to me. Raven, an elite operative for Umber who leaves no trace but a body in her chillingly unique calling card. A piece of bloody justice that makes my blood run thick and hot. What would those hands feel like claiming something other than death? How incredible would she look wrapped around me instead of a blade? We're discussing the increased threats, Evander says, voice carrying barely concealed frustration. The real business, the business he thinks I've abandoned. Your legitimate front makes you a target, a soft one. The corner of my mouth ticks up. Soft targets are better bait. He scoffs. This isn't one of your corporate takeovers. These are animals. They don't play by your rules. Then I'll play by theirs. My voice drops, carrying across the silent room. I lean forward, planting my hands on the table. The underlings shift in their seats, attention snapping at me. You're right. The threats are escalating. Intelligence suggests coordinated interference with our legitimate operations. This has moved beyond random harassment into active sabotage. This is my opening, the move I've been setting up for weeks. Therefore, I continue, gaze sweeping over the board, I'm restructuring my personal security. Standard corporate teams are insufficient. I need a specialist, someone who understands the particular dialect of violence our competitors speak. My father's eyes narrow. He knows I'm taking control, steering the ship. He just doesn't know my destination is her. We have the best men, he grinds out, loyal, proven. Your men are soldiers. They're effective in a war. I'm not at war. I'm being hunted. So I need someone who thinks like a predator, not just a guard dog. Nigel, my uncle and my father's most trusted advisor, leans forward. An independent contractor? Risky. Their loyalty is to the highest bidder. Then I'll be the highest bidder. The words fall flat and final. A promise, a declaration that has nothing to do with money and everything to do with possession. I've already identified the premier firm, Umber. The name lands hard. Even my father's stony facade cracks. Umber is legendary, untouchable. Their operators are the scalpels of the underworld, precise and untraceable. They're assassins, not bodyguards, Evander rumbles. The best defense is an insurmountable offense, I counter, using one of his own tired adages back at him. I'm not looking for someone to stand in front of me and take a bullet. No, I'm looking for someone to eliminate the threat before the gun is even drawn. Someone who's proactive, aggressive, someone who will make a statement. The tension in the room shifts. Greed and fear. They see the logic. Protecting me protects their bloated portfolios. What they don't see is that I'm not hiring protection. I'm claiming my obsession. The cost will be astronomical, Thompson points out. I turn my head and fix him with a look, a quiet, empty look that has made lesser men piss themselves. Factor it into your 17% projection. He shrinks back, wilting. The discussion is over. I've won. I push back from the table. Gentlemen, thank you for your time. It's a dismissal. They gather their papers, movement suddenly clumsy and rushed. My father remains seated, his glare boring into me. This is a mistake, he says, voice a low threat. It's my mistake to make. I turn my back on him and walk toward the private elevator. The moment the doors close, savage triumph burns through my veins. Phase 1 complete. The board has given me carte blanche to bring in elite protection. Now comes the delicate work of making sure I get exactly the protection I want. Her. 24 hours later, I sit across from Phoenix Hari at Aurelius, a restaurant where billionaires whisper deals over 30-year whiskey and discussions of death are seasoned with truffle oil. The choice of venue was deliberate. Private booths, excellent acoustics for conversation, terrible for surveillance. The kind of establishment where Umber's enigmatic leader holds rare meetings. I didn't call her directly. That would have been amateurish. Instead, I let my intelligence network create the perfect coincidence, a mutual business contact mentioning my security concerns, well-placed rumors about escalating interference, the suggestion that perhaps Umber's services might be worth discussing. By the time Phoenix's assistant had called to propose this meeting, she believed it was her idea. Create the need, guide the solution, let them convince themselves. Basic manipulation executed flawlessly. Phoenix, an MIT graduate at 19 and former military intelligence, has worked alongside Esther Wilder to build Umber from a stateside company into the world's premier assassination conglomerate in under a decade. She doesn't take meetings lightly, and nothing gets past those unnervingly perceptive emerald eyes. But I have something she doesn't expect. Genuine need wrapped in careful orchestration. The threats are real enough. I just need her to believe they require her particular brand of solution, her most elite solution. The situation has escalated beyond acceptable limits. Phoenix's voice carries a steel as she watches me across the table. She leans forward slightly, the shift subtle, but intentional. The latest interference suggests coordination, intelligence gathering. This isn't random harassment anymore, Stone. A measured sip of 30-year Macallan burns down my throat. The irony tastes expensive. I orchestrated this meeting, designed every variable to lead to this exact moment. Phoenix demanding I accept protection. Now I feign reluctance just long enough to maintain control, guiding her toward the outcome I've already chosen. The outcome that puts Raven in my hands. Rival theatrics are hardly worth Umber's attention. Crystal chimes softly against polished wood as my glass returns to the table. They mistake noise for strategy. Last week's merger sabotage was clumsy, desperate, the kind of tantrum you'd expect from second-tier operations. Phoenix's expression doesn't shift, but her stillness changes, becomes denser, more dangerous. The Viridian tech documents weren't leaked by accident. The timing was calculated. Someone leaked intelligence, family protocols, security schedules, your private meetings. Her nails, short and practical, tap once against the white tablecloth. That suggests insider access. Perfect. She's building my case for me. I study the amber liquid in my tumbler while internally noting her approach, making protection sound inevitable rather than optional, making Raven sound necessary. Family dynamics create vulnerabilities, I admit, allowing genuine frustration to surface. Evander's traditional approach creates friction, old guard versus new methodologies. Our enemies see opportunity in division. Phoenix's gaze flicks past my shoulder, monitoring the restaurant's exits. Always operational, even here, surrounded by wealth and whispered conversations. Weakness invites predators, Stone, and you've made yourself a very tempting target. I settle back against the leather booth, projecting the confidence of a man who built an empire through legitimate acquisitions. Phoenix, I've survived 30 years of Blackwell family dynamics. I think I can handle external pressure. Can you handle what comes after? Her voice drops, layering intimacy over iron. When harassment escalates to threats? When whoever's feeding intelligence to your enemies decides direct action serves their interests better? She pauses, letting the implication settle. You're building something that threatens the old guard. Change always attracts enemies. I appear to weigh her words against my preference for independence. Every moment of this dance brings me closer to claiming what I've hungered for since that gala. Personal security announces fear, I say, my tone level and businesslike. It draws targets, creates the very vulnerabilities it's supposed to prevent. The moment I surround myself with obvious protection, I become a man worth attacking. Phoenix's mineral water meets the table with a soft click. The sound carries finality. Then we don't make it obvious. Her steel gaze pins me. Discreet, elite protection. Someone who blends into world until needed. A shadow that moves like smoke and strikes like lightning. Perfect. She's leading exactly where I need her to go. My anticipation sharpens. Umber doesn't typically provide babysitting services. Is that what you think this is? Ice enters her voice. I'm not suggesting a minder, Stone. I'm recommending a strategic deterrent. Someone whose very presence signals that interfering with your operations carries prohibitive costs. She invades my space just enough to underscore the seriousness. Someone who can eliminate problems before they bloom into crises. Silence stretches between us. Come on, Phoenix, you know exactly who I need. Give me the name that's been burning through my thoughts for 2 months. Operatives of that caliber are assets, not guard dogs. I echo her earlier distinction. Their skills are specialized, expensive. Specialized problems require specialized solutions. Phoenix's gaze sharpens, probing. She knows I'm maneuvering. The operative I have in mind understands that true security isn't just protection. It's threat elimination, preemptive, surgical, invisible until the moment it isn't. She pauses, and the decision crystallizes behind her eyes. Raven Crawford. Her reputation precedes her. The name hangs between us like a blade. My fingers tighten on the tumbler. There she is, my lethal shadow, my perfect weapon, my obsession. Mine. Victory tastes like smoke and aged whiskey, but I keep my expression neutral. She offered exactly what I wanted while believing it was her idea. The hunger threading through my chest has nothing to do with strategic success and everything to do with finally claiming what's mine. I've heard whispers, I admit, as if the name means nothing more than professional reputation, efficiency, discretion, a certain artistry to her work. The images that flash through my mind are anything but professional. What would it take to crack that legendary composure, to see if her body moves as confidently beneath me instead of standing over a corpse, to watch those killers' hands learn a different kind of claiming? Assigning her would certainly send a message. Phoenix nods once, sharp and decisive. It tells anyone circling that you don't play by their rules. You upgrade the game entirely. She reaches into her suit jacket and produces a slim tablet. Raven's currently concluding an assignment. High value extraction, politically sensitive. Assuming there's no complications, reassignment is feasible. Effective tomorrow. Tomorrow. I mask the savage satisfaction behind the nod of a CEO closing a necessary deal. Tomorrow she'll be here, in my space, close enough to study, to understand, to claim piece by piece until she's completely mine. That works. I slide a discrete encrypted data chip across the polished table. Threat assessment data my security team compiled. Recent threats, known associates with an axe to grind, potential flashpoints. Phoenix pockets the chip without examining it, eyes remaining on mine. Understand the rules, Stone. Raven is an Umber asset. She answers to me. Her purpose is threat neutralization and your safety, not settling family vendettas or advancing business interests. Phoenix thinks in terms of boundaries and limitations. She doesn't understand that every boundary can be redefined. Every protocol can evolve. Once Raven is embedded in my operations, once she sees the scope of the threats I face, once she understands the value I place on excellence, loyalties have a way of shifting. Of course, I say, projecting cooperative understanding. Her expertise is for my protection, nothing more. The lie tastes as smooth as the whiskey. Nothing more except everything I've wanted since I watched her move through that gala like death and expensive silk. Phoenix rises, the movement fluid and controlled. She doesn't offer her hand. This isn't that kind of agreement. Expect to hear from my operations team within the hour about initial briefings. Phoenix, I speak as she turns to leave. She pauses, one eyebrow slightly raised. I keep my expression neutral, offering just enough vulnerability to sell the narrative. Thank you. Something unreadable flickers across her face. Suspicion, perhaps, or weary acknowledgement of the game we're both playing. She doesn't reply, just turns and disappears into the restaurant's shadows. The tumbler lifts to my lips, liquid fire sliding down my throat. Raven Crawford, the shadow I summoned. Exactly what I need to survive the predator circling my empire. More than that, the perfect instrument to remove the obstacle standing between me and absolute control. And once she's close enough, she'll be the weapon I wield and the prize I claim. I signal for the check. Outside the polished windows, the city sprawls in steel and glass and hidden knives. My domain, my battlefield. And somewhere across the city, another phone is already ringing with her new assignment, an assignment that delivers her directly into my hands. The hunt is over. The capture begins tomorrow.